A hell of a false idea. The scriptures given by the Lord describe the bad spiritual condition of a soul as hell, which is roughly divided in 3 different levels, whereby the lowest hell is the most desperate and inescapable one. A local hell, in the material sense, does not exist. But since matter actually is banned to spirit, there is a visible connection whose bad or evil activity can be felt even in the material world. Basically, images of hell that originate from individual visions of bad conditions of souls are responsible for our pictorial concept of it. The following collection of scriptures contain many horror scenarios. It shows that the depictions are completely right, but their interpretation is mistaken without the Lord's wisdom. The hellish conditions are real, and to escape hell is theoretically easy. Love God above all and your neighbor as yourself. Then the portals of hell will not be able to overpower us. Practically, we are talking about the primary goal of a human life here. Quotations of the Lord. What does the center of gravity of the earth look like? Is it a rock full of diamonds, or iron, or perhaps a magnet? Or is it a hollow space filled with an eternal, inextinguishable fire, of which, perhaps, the volcanic mountains scattered over the earth are but the chimneys? Of course, none of this is true from the earth. Of course, the divine, true love differs from the hellish one quite considerably, and so far as divine love is also on the prowl, as it is the hellish one, but it returns it all again. It only gathers for the sake of returning, whereas hellish love robs only for its own benefit and will not surrender anything. From the Great Gospel of John. Why, O peoples of the earth, do you make shackles and then secure them about your own feet? I tell you the truth, you are all captives, slaves to your own evil thoughts and desires. Therefore, forsake all this madness and return to me. Call on my name in sincerity and truth, and you shall truly be free. If I hold all. From Trumpet Call of God. For instance, there are those souls who, had they succeeded in their intended destiny, would have ended their lives going to hell. But because I allowed an intervention, it totally changed the course of their lives. They cannot see it, and so they become bitter. But won't that bitterness take them to hell as well? It can if someone doesn't intervene. But I literally move heaven and earth to bring someone across their path that changes their whole attitude, many times at the very end of their lives. But it is their last chance. Not that I don't try earlier, but some are so hardened and obstinate that it takes facing death to realize their mistake. From Love Letters from Jesus. However, since the spirit, according to the most necessary divine order, has to be for a certain time imprisoned in the matter of the flesh of this world, so that it may become firm in its freedom and almost total independence of God, without which it would never be able to see God, let alone exist in, beside, and with God. But when the spirit is maturing within matter and becoming firm in freedom and independence of God, it is exposed to the quite unavoidable danger of being swallowed up by matter and perishing together with it, from which death is an awakening to life in God and must be extremely hard and painful. The Lord said, not to the physical man, of course, but to the spiritual man. If your eye offends you, tear it out and fling it away, for it is better to enter the heavens with one eye than hell with both. Which is to say as much as, if you find the light of the world too tempting, make an effort and turn away from such a light, which would draw you into the depth of matter. Deprive yourself as spirit of the empty gratification that enjoyment of the world can offer, and turn with your soul to the purely heavenly things, for it is better for you to enter the realm of eternal life without much worldly knowledge then be swallowed up by the death of matter. Too worldly wise on the one hand, and too little spiritually wise on the other hand. From the Great Gospel of John. My children, be wise and vigilant. Do not be deceived. For I tell you the truth, from the beginning, Satan was a deceiver and a murderer. He has never been on the side of truth. From the beginning, he sought to ensnare my people, saying, "You will not surely die." And still to this day, the lie is widely spoken of and accepted, even fiercely defended by the churches of men for the sake of pride. For they uphold the lie, teaching that whether one believes and accepts the Son, or whether one forbears and rejects the life, all have eternal life in heaven or in hell. Believe them not. See with greater eyes, for I do not change. I do not grant eternal life to the wicked in any form, nor shall the evil of heart see everlasting life. Their existence shall be taken from them. They shall surely be blotted out. There is no life in death, nor is there torment in my vesture, nor did it enter my mind. Beloved, the churches of men speak foolishness, and their leaders teach from doctrines of devils. From the Trumpet Call of God. After the death of your body, through your heart you will step into the infinite space of God, and according to the state of your heart, you will encounter it as either heaven or hell. Since nowhere there exists a separately created heaven, nor a separately created hell. For everything comes out of the heart of man, and thus everyone prepares for himself either heaven or hell in his heart, depending on whether his actions are good or bad, and as he believes, wants and acts, he will live his belief, out of which his will was nourished and passed into action. From the Great Gospel of John. Here I turned again to Peter in the friendliest way and said, I have not disparaged you in the least, if I have shown you in the sharp speech your human side. Everything that is human in this world in a person, his flesh and its various needs from pure earthly considerations, is under judgment. Therefore, hell and Satan, who is the epitome of all judgment, death, night and falsehood, for the whole so-called life of matter is merely a phantom life and of no value at all. From the Great Gospel of John. When the spirit of some great sinner departs from this material life to enter the spiritual valley, it is surprised to discover that hell, as it had once imagined, does not exist, and the fire, of which it was previously told, is nothing more than the essence of its works, harshly judged by its conscience. That eternal judgment and enlightenment which exists in the midst of the darkness that surround the sinner will be more painful than the strongest fire you could have imagined. But it is not a torture prepared beforehand as a punishment for the one who offended me. No, this torture originates when one begins to understand his own mistakes. When the spirit begins to feel great sorrow for having offended the one who created him, and for not having made better use of its time and of the many gifts it received from its Lord. From the Third Testament.